Do you think it's possible in your position, which, everybody knew what you were doing and you were appointed to it and doing it. Do you think it's possible that you were misled by anybody in the contractor system particularly? Do you think that, was there any indication that you thought, well, maybe I could be misled here?
No, I had no indication of that. A lot of these folks, especially in the contractor communities, I've known for many, many, many years, had working relationships with. They bent over backwards to try to not only help me find records or evidence, but also people who had knowledge, kind of firsthand knowledge of story origins and what was actually happening at the time that a particular event was said to have occurred, and got them to come in to talk to us so that we could document all of that and write it down and investigate it and cross-reference it with. So we actually untangled quite a bit of one of the allegations for a contractor, hiding in this technology, and where that actually came from and how it was linked to some of these other stories that don't have any validity as either. So it's an interesting way that the story is propagated, but from a misled perspective, no, I had no indication that I was being misled by anyone other than some of the whistleblowers that were coming in.
Now, there is something burning the internet down, and it's another FOIA thing, talking about recovery and materials transfer in a document. What did that mean? What is the story behind that document?
Yeah, okay, so Arrow is congressionally directed to come up with not just standard reporting procedures, but also mitigation and response procedures for in the event of a shoot down or a collection of any sort of UAP, keeping in mind that UAP involves everything from balloons to drones to alleged alien tech. And so to do that, mitigation and response, as well as standardized reporting, will occur through all of the combatant commands. And so that particular meeting was to go meet with the J3, who's in charge of operations, to start the discussion on how we're going to define those procedures and whether or not we have to provide a flyaway team in the event of any sort of shoot down to collect whatever is there, because by law, Congress told Arrow it had to come up with mitigation and response procedures, as well as develop, flyaway teams or whatnot to go and collect anything that had to be done. The problem is those types of activities are already covered under foreign material collection and analysis. So there's already a process and procedures in place for many of these things. And so this conversation was really to start, how do we document that for UAP, and what kind of procedures do we need to put in place, and what kind of processes do we need to put in place? And I started with Space Command because that's where I came from. And that was a kind of an easy way to get this started to address congressional concerns. So there wasn't an actual thing. It was hey, we need to go have a conversation about how we're going to do this and get the teams started and documenting that goes into the J3, which is the Director of Operations, operational procedures and processes.
So you literally created a UFO recovery team, in short, in the event something like that were to happen.
It's any UAP recovery, and it was really more the process and procedure, because they already have people in place that would collect. Like if we shot down another Chinese high altitude balloon, it's that team that would go and collect it, right? It's those procedures and processes on how it gets notified and how we go and get it. And that would be now true for pretty much anything.
Does the government have an Indiana Jones warehouse where they have all of these foreign materials, Russian, Soviet, materials from the Cold War, planes and things like that they recovered, parts of missiles and everything else that are archived somewhere and still kept secret because it's sensitive, because of foreign relations.
I wish we had a big old warehouse like that, but that would be fun. But we do, the IC and the DoD collects foreign material and they exploit it, just like foreign adversaries collect on us and exploit it. And so some of that stuff is stored in places.
I had to ask a question because obviously it's burning the internet down. So, all right, aliens. I got two more questions for you, and this one's just aliens in general. Is that treated as a national security concern? In other words, say you had found something, wouldn't that be really scary to have an alien civilization, a presence here of very highly advanced nature, far beyond anything we can do? Does the government say that's a national security threat? In other words, would that have been a high priority? We need to build some missiles or something like that. Or do they just assume they'd have done something by now if they were here?
No, and this will be a wholly unsatisfying answer. But when we had this conversation about if we actually found anything, what would the classification be and how would we handle it? Most of that, apart from the part of we're going to get NASA will take lead, but it's also going to be it's got to go up to the president for a decision on is it a national security issue or is it a humanity civilization issue? And so that's, I think, what would actually happen is it would get briefed over, probably in partnership with the department by NASA up to the president for a decision.
Yeah, I know certain presidents have thought about it because I believe Ronald Reagan asked Gorbachev if the Soviets would help us if there was an alien threat, and Gorbachev said yes. But again, that's presidential level. Now, my last question, and this is a fun one. In looking into all of these programs and past programs and finding not evidence of aliens, but did you find weird historical stuff that's eventually going to come out about programs that we did that's just really cool? In other words, we really did make this kind of a plane or something like that, and it's just not out there yet. Was there anything that you thought, wow, that's amazing?
Well, obviously, I would have to say I am very impressed and deeply proud of both the DoD and the IC's capabilities that they are developing and building to protect this nation. And I think everybody should take some solace in that. There are some really, really great technologies that are coming. Really great.
Chi vorreste vedere ammazzarsi nella prossima puntata? Un politico? Un personaggio famoso? Oppure un buffo clown? Mandate un SMS all'845 40 40. In regalo potreste ricevere la fantastica suoneria di